You are good to go.
All right, so what I'm going to do today is just walk you through some of the basic information about the Writing and Publishing Diploma at the college, and introduce you to a few of the sort of side projects that we get up to as part of the program. But first, let's actually have a look at the college website. So the link here is for the Writing and Publishing page on the English department section of the website. So let me just get there. Okay, just to confirm, Katie, are you seeing the web browser now? Oh, you've gone silent, Katie.
There we go. Sorry.
There we go.
We're still on the slides.
Okay, so it looks like I have to change what I'm sharing. Just 1 second here. Here we go. Good?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the Writing and Publishing page on the Okanagan College website, which you can get to from the main page by searching under Programs, under Arts and University Studies. And then on the next page, there will be a link to the Writing and Publishing page right down here. So that's how I just got there. The diploma is a 2-year program that blends together quite a few different fields. So you would be taking some classes in English literature, some creative writing classes, some communications classes, and then the bulk of the second half of the diploma are the publishing classes. So you can access this information anytime on the college website, but I'm just going to walk you through a little bit of it here. So here's the sort of short version. This 2-year diploma blends study in English, creative writing, editing, and communications theory with applied technical skills in graphic design, typography, coding, and book publishing. So as you can see, in a very short period of time, in 2 years, we cover a lot of material. These are sort of some of the jobs that you would be looking at with the skills that you learn in the diploma. And then if we have just a very quick glance, because this isn't a very interesting part of the presentation, but just to get a sense of the sorts of courses you would be taking in the program. You can see here in year 1, there are a couple of English classes that you can choose from, some creative writing, and then the first publishing courses. Fine Arts 71 here is an introduction to the Adobe Creative Cloud applications. So we focus primarily on InDesign and Photoshop with a little bit of Illustrator. And then in Fine Arts 171, it's sort of a graphic design basics class. So we spend quite a bit of time in those 3 programs as well. Then in the first year, you're also taking some communications classes and 1 business class to look a little bit at marketing and how graphic design works into marketing. And then in year 2, we focus more on the actual publication design side of things. So Fine Arts 1 and 2 here, 201 and 202, are introduction to typography and advanced typography classes. Fine Arts 204 for the last few years has focused on the literary journal Rigo, which I'll talk a little bit about in a minute. And then 205 is our letterpress print shop class, which I'll also talk about. Then you take some more communications in the second year, as well as a pre-production class. So this is on preparing manuscripts and graphics for production. 207 is a web design class, so learning some basic HTML coding and working with graphics on the web. Then we've got a professional editing course and some more creative writing classes towards the end of the program. So that's just a very quick glance at sort of the course breakdown for the diploma. What I wanted to focus on today, given the title of our workshop today, Digital Publishing in the 21st Century, what I focus on mainly in the classes that I teach at the diploma are both digital and analog printing. So we spend most of our time in the computer lab working in the Adobe software, learning how to design posters, books, and other materials. For instance, my students right now are working on a stationery package, so they had to design letterhead and envelope and business cards. So the bulk of the work is digital. However, the college is very lucky to have the only letterpress print shop at a secondary institution in Western Canada. So I wanted to talk just a little bit about that. So one of the things that we do at the college is we have a literary imprint called Calamelca Press. And this is a publishing company run through the college that publishes Canadian authors. The books that we produce through Calamelca Press are printed the way that books were printed 500 years ago. So we print them with hand-set metal type in our print shop, working on 100-year-old printing presses. So as I say, while the bulk of what we do is digital, working in the computer lab, one of the things that the students really enjoy is getting down to the print shop where we actually get to set some type by hand. We also have an Instagram page here where you can check out some photographs taken by students throughout the years. For instance, if we could come down here and have a peek at this one, you can see some of the students busy hand setting metal type. And then if we switch back to the Cal Press website for a minute, we can look at one of the books that they produced. So this, for instance, was last year's book. You can see we printed the cover with some old wood type. And here are some of the interior pages. So the way these projects works is that each student is assigned a number of pages, and they have to actually set the type by hand, one letter at a time. And then we all take turns printing them and folding them and binding them. Now, the books we're looking at right now are part of what's called the John Lent Award. John was a creative writing instructor at the college for years and eventually was the regional dean of the Vernon campus. John's a widely published author, and 10 years ago, we created this award called the John Lent Award. So each year we get submissions from writers around the country, and a panel of judges select a winner, and then the winner of that contest is the book that writing publishing students actually produce in English 205. So we spend a good part of the year down in the print shop setting the type and producing that by the end of the school year. So you can head to either of these pages to have a look at more of what we're doing down in the print shop. It's a really great opportunity to get out of the computer lab and to actually get our hands dirty and do something a little more tactile. But then we take what we learn in the print shop back into the computer lab to focus on our digital designs. Another thing that the English department does at the college is we have another journal called Riga, which is a literary journal that for a handful of years was print. So we were actually producing print copies and selling them. But in the last couple of years, we've switched to a completely online delivery. And if we were to switch back just for a second to the course breakdown for the diploma, English 204 right here, the main project in 204 is working on Riga. So students in English 204 work as editors and copy editors to select the material that will go into Riga. And then they work not only on the editorial board, but on building the website as well. So for instance, if we go to the About page here, Nils Donnelly, Emma Klingsbon, and Claire Thiessen were all students last year and served in these roles on the board of the Riga magazine. They also helped work on the website. So the material that I'm teaching in the publication classes are being transferred into real world situations where the students get to work both with Calamelca Press and with Riga to gain some experience working on real world projects. Now, if I switch back to my slide presentation for just a second. So here are the links to the things that I just mentioned, but you can find all of these on the Okanagan College website as well. So from the English department page on the OC website, you'll find links to Calamelca Press. And on the Calamelca Press website, you can find a link to the Instagram page if you wanted to have a look at that stuff. Some other things I wanted to show you here are some examples of some student work. So one of the projects we do in the publication classes is design book covers. So this particular project was I assigned to the students to design a cover for Leisha Rosno's book of poetry called Getaway Girl. So the students are provided with the manuscript itself so they can read the poems that are going to be in the book. And then we workshop different ideas conceptually on how to approach the theme of the book and turn it into a graphic representation on the cover. So here are a couple of the designs that the students came up with. Next page is for the project here was they had to design a poster for a literary event. And part of this project was they had to find a model, so an example that's on the right of the screen here. And then they had to adapt that model into their project, which was the Vertigo Voices event. So you can see here that the student has done a fantastic job of replicating the original design and incorporating in the information that they needed to put onto the poster. A nice addition here is that fountain pen, just to introduce the idea of a literary reading. Another example of what a student came up with for this assignment, you can see the model there on the right and how they adapted that into the design for the literary reading. Now, none of these were actually used, and that's why, in some situations, this would clearly be seen as plagiarism, right? Stealing someone else's ideas. But a big part of this class is learning how to use the tools in InDesign to replicate other works, just to expand your skills on what you can do in InDesign. So these were just class projects. They were never out into the world. The next thing I'll show you is some additional posters. The college also has a theater group called the Red Dot Players. And pre-COVID, every year they were putting on a play. So the students in Fine Arts 202 have the task of creating a poster for these theater productions. And the way that that project works is everybody in the class develops a poster, and then we submit all of their posters to the theater group, and they choose which one they think best represents the play. So these are 3 of the winners over the last handful of years for the various plays that the theater company was putting on. Some of which are based on historical models. The one on the right there, for instance, is based on a Saul Bass design, but it's been reinterpreted for this particular play. So that's just a handful of examples of the sort of work that students in the Writing Publishing Diploma are working on throughout the semester. And that, of course, is mixed in with their English, creative writing, and communications classes. I mainly teach the publication classes, which is why I'm focusing on that right now today. Let me just get back to the other screen here for just a second. Where are we here? Okay, I think we should have the web browser back up here. So I'm just going to go back to the OC page for a second. This is what I meant to mention. Some of the programs that you can transfer into after finishing the Writing Publishing Diploma are listed here, and we're always working to add more transfer options for students. For instance, by adding a couple of classes to the Writing Publishing Diploma, you can transfer into an Associate Arts degree at UBCO. So we're continuing to build more relationships with other institutions so that your 2-year diploma can transfer into a 4-year degree at other colleges and universities. And I think that's just about all I had planned, because I wanted to leave enough time for questions at the end. Now, we don't have a lot of people here today, so I don't think we'll need the full time for questions. But rather than me just continue rambling, I wonder if Madison, McLaughlin, or Bob, you're welcome to join in too. If anyone has any questions or anything you'd like me to talk about a little bit more. So feel free just to chat, and I can, or turn on your microphone if you want, and we can actually talk to each other. I know people are generally shy to talk at these things, but there's only 5 of us here, so feel free.
I have a question.
Yeah, shoot.
So about the transferring to the UBCO, you mentioned taking more classes so that we're eligible to do that. What kind of classes were needed for that?
Yeah, you're hitting my weak area there, Madison, because I'm not the academic advisor, but the question really is relative to what it is you want to pursue, right? So if you're planning to move to UBCO after you've done the college, the program you choose to go into is going to dictate what you might need to make sure you have in your tool belt. So it's different for everyone, and that's why this is a really tricky question to answer. Who you would want to talk to would be one of our academic advisors, and talk to them about what you might be interested in pursuing when you shift schools. And then they would be able to help you to find out exactly what you need to make sure you have to go into those programs. But the schools that I mentioned here, we have current relationships with, so it's kind of streamlined to slip right into their programs. But again, it just depends entirely on what you want to pursue when you keep going forward. I wish I could have a concrete answer for you, but that's kind of the best I can offer there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Katie, feel free to jump in if you have anything to add to what I might be saying.
Yeah, for sure. So on the note of education advising, we have a section of our website that kind of explains the process if you did want to connect with someone and see what those specific requirements are. So I can post it in the chat. And yeah, if you feel you want to kind of know what those specifics are, by all means, I would suggest connecting with one of our advisors. They're great.
And is this what you're talking about here, Katie?
Yes, you've got it under future students. Mm-hmm.
So Madison, that would be a good place to head to if you want to look into that more specifically.
Mhm.
That's what that looks like the second year. It says there's.
Sorry, Madison, what was that?
I just had a question it said like in the second year, they travel between the two campuses, between Vernon and Kelowna.
Mm-hmm. Part of that is because the print shop itself is in the Vernon campus, and there's 25,000 pounds of equipment in there, so we can't readily move it back and forth to Kelowna. But also because when the program was first created, it was created as sort of a signature diploma at the Vernon campus, and part of that was because the creative writing department always had a really strong presence in Vernon. So that's just sort of the way the program developed. Now, what we do is we offer all of the first year courses at both campuses. And then some of the second year classes are only offered at the Vernon campus. And again, a big part of that is just because of the physicality of the equipment. This year, of course, it's all online. So none of that plays into this at all. And we're still waiting to see what next year will be like. But under normal circumstances, yeah, some of the classes are in Vernon. Are you in Vernon or Kelowna, Madison?
I'm in Kelowna.
Right. So every year I have quite a few students from Kelowna who come out to Vernon for the classes, and between transit and carpooling, that's never really much of an issue. We try to organize the classes so that there's as little commuting as possible. So for instance, all of our classes are once a week. They're either 3 or 4 hour classes. And wherever possible, we double them up. So for instance, on a Tuesday, you might have 2 of the classes that are in Vernon. So you come out just on Tuesdays, just that one day of the week. So we're really working hard to reduce the amount of commuting as much as possible.
So only like a few days a week is the commute to Vernon? Like that's what you're trying to...
Yeah, I wouldn't even say a few. I would say it's 1 or 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I always kind of chuckle at this question because when I was a student way back in the old days and I went to Okanagan College, I lived in Vernon and I had to commute to Kelowna every single day.
Oh no.
McLaughlin, any questions from you? Don't be shy. You're here for information, so I want to make sure you get what you're looking for. No?
Journalism's kind of my end goal. Oh, shoot.
Madison, you got more?
Yeah, so do you think that this kind of course would be a good stepping stone in getting towards pursuing journalism?
Well, it certainly touches on a lot of that. You know, the editing classes for sure would absolutely help you if you're interested in journalism. The Riga project is essentially working on an editorial board. So again, you're getting experience with that, sort of working with others to select material and improve the quality of that material. The creative writing classes are certainly going to help your writing. You'll see that I'm kind of carefully skirting the fact that we don't specifically have any journalism classes, but all of these classes would certainly benefit that area of writing, and would then, you know, set you up to go and take specific journalism classes at other institutions. So it certainly wouldn't hurt. It isn't specifically geared towards a journalism degree, but all of this stuff is certainly in that toolbox. The communications classes do specifically touch on journalism. So in terms of just communications and various media, how information is conveyed. So that's certainly a sort of way of looking at journalism. I don't know if they're specifically, you know, writing for newspapers or writing for magazines or even writing for the web, but it's talking theoretically about how all those things function in our society. And that's sort of the basic thrust of communications classes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Jason, I think we have a question on the chat just from McLaughlin. I'm not sure if you can see the chat.
I think I can pull it up here.
Okay.
Oh, it's just hidden behind my other one. Just a second. There we go. Okay, so McLaughlin, what is the type of course even? What is the... Okay, so the approach here, McLaughlin, is skill-based training, right? So if you were interested in going into the workforce and working as a graphic designer or as a publisher or as an editor, It's the first half of the diploma is very much focusing on those technical skills. So how to use the software that's used in the publishing industry. And at the moment, that's Adobe. So by the end of the first year, the focus is to make sure that students are able to work in all of the Adobe applications comfortably and at a professional level. And then in the second half of the program, it's about producing a portfolio of work that you could use as a kind of resume when you go out looking for jobs. So we really focus on exactly what employers would expect you to know how to do when you go into any of these fields. And again, the fields that I'm referring to, if we go back here for just a second, am I still sharing my screen? I think I am. If we go back here for a second. So these kinds of jobs right down here are the skills that we really focus on in the diploma to make sure that you're ready and able to do the sorts of things that the workforce would be expecting from you. So in some ways, you're right. It is kind of a advanced yearbook class, except what you're learning are more sophisticated and professional skills to do that sort of work. So for instance, way back when I was in high school, I worked on that sort of stuff too. And that actually is what started my interest in these areas. And I eventually got very interested in typography and book design and what goes into producing books. And that's a big part of the thrust of this diploma. Now, I don't mean to put too much of a bias here, McLaughlin, because I'm clearly talking about the classes that I teach. And so I may be skewing your view of the diploma a little bit. But that's because the stuff I teach is the cool stuff. No, I'm just kidding. The other classes really round it out, right? So the writing classes, the lit classes, the editing classes, and the communications classes are adding to your knowledge base, right? So if you were, for instance, interested in being some sort of graphic designer, all of these other classes are going to inform your perspective on how to design things effectively. So it's a really well-rounded program, and it's kind of amazing how much you cover in that very short 2-year time span. I don't know if that specifically answered your question, McLaughlin, but I hope so. Yeah, right at the beginning, McLaughlin, I just mentioned that on the writing publishing page of the website, of the Okanagan College website, they have this list. And this is obviously not a comprehensive list, but these are some of the kinds of jobs that you could seek after working through the diploma. But it can certainly be transferred into all kinds of things. You know, like I've had students who actually decide they want to start printing books the way that we print books down in the bunker, or other students who are a large part of our population actually in the first year of the diploma are business students who want to learn how to design things so that they can take that into their marketing plans. So it really is kind of adaptable to whatever it is you might be interested in. What's listed here are just the sort of conventional jobs that you would expect to pursue after doing something like this. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's it. That's all. So what I'll do is I'll just mention one more time where you can find some of this information before we sign off. So from the college website, if you just go to Arts and University Studies and then scroll down to the diploma, and in here you'll find information about everything I went over today, including Calamelca Press and the print shop, The Bunker. Now, we were asked when we finished our presentation today to put this slideshow back up, because it has some information. I believe if you're here today, you're already registered, but the college also has a contest up right now to win a tuition credit. So by all means, make sure you have a look at that. And as I said, any other information you might be looking for on the diploma, you can find on the OC website.
Yeah, that's great, Jason. And I'll also add, if anyone wants to revisit this session and watch through some of the slides and the things that you talked about, this session will be available on the college's website, the same page that you would have joined this session from. So if you think there's something that you wonder, oh, I remember us talking about it, you can revisit it in the weeks to come. So
awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, Jason, and thanks to everyone for joining today.
Yeah, Madison, McLaughlin, I hope we got you some useful information. All right.
Excellent. Okay, have a great day, everyone.
So do I stop the session now?
Yes, I think
Yes.
I think you can.
Okay, I think they've signed off. All right, thanks,
Perfect.
Katie.
Thanks, Jason. See you.
Have a good day.
You too.